My name is Mirja, Lars and Teresa, and we all work at a company called LajvVerkstaden, or in English, the Larp workshop. We'll run through this day, but Teresa will only be here for some parts of it, so you'll be here now a little bit, and then in the character workshop and in the Larp itself. But other than that, it will be me and Lars running this day. Okay, and what we're going to do today is that we're going to start this out with some introductory lessons on what Larp is and how to Larp. We're also going to do a character workshop to get you guys into character and the characters you're going to play during the Larp. And then we're going to have a fencing lesson, because in this Larp we have some parts of fencing, and this is sort of a how to solve conflicts in this Larp. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
And everything will run smoothly, and if you have any questions during it, please ask us and we'll try to explain what we're trying to do. We work at a company together. This company, the Larp Workshop, we run for I've run it for about 5 years, but we've run it on a bigger scale for about 3 years. And we do yearly, we meet thousands of participants in different kinds of LARPs, and mainly in educational LARPs. So we work full time, us three and a couple of other people, with developing and running LARPs. That's our job to do. And we do it mostly in Sweden, but also a bit international, and mainly we do support actions with the communities that need to develop LARP as a sort of a hobby. So we help out to make them learn how to create LARPs themselves. And that's our job. But we're not going to talk so much about ourselves. We're going to come into the LARPing part. Or do you want to add something I forgot?
Yeah, one thing that might be interesting for you is that the LARP we're going to play, the Long Live the Revolution LARP, is one of the LARPs that we play as an educational LARP for 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds.
13 to 14-year-olds.
13 to 14-year-olds.
Yes.
So the lecture we're going to have now, and then the LARP, most parts of it is as we would run it with 13 to 14-year-olds. But we have more time, so we've added a few extra things and spiced it up a little. But you can see this as an example of how you could actually work with educational LARPs as well.
Yeah. And also, as you see, there will be some filming today, but we won't film the entire day, as it's mostly just when we stand here and talk about stuff. There's no worries about that.
Yeah. I just have a question before we start. Could I see anyone who has ever LARPed before? Could you raise a hand? Any kind of LARP?
Great.
Okay, just...
We would like to start with actually doing a little LARP together to sort of warm up before the big LARP. But firstly, we're going to explain what a LARP is. So when we explain LARP to people, that mainly when we come to a classroom, no one has heard of what LARP is. A lot of people be like, we have no idea what we're supposed to do. And we explain it that there's 4 basic things in a LARP. There's the world, like we have to be in some kind of world to where this LARP takes place. And the world could be today a very realistic world setting. It could be our world, but it could also be like a spaceship in a far future, or it could be like completely fictional world like a Harry Potter LARP or whatever. So we have to decide what kind of world are we in. So that's the first part. And then the second part is the scenario. We can't just be like, just play in this world. The LARP has to be about something, a specific event that this LARP is about. So the event could, for example, be people in the French Revolution meeting up in an inn, which will sort of be a lot about your LARP. But there could also be the trolls coming together in this fantasy forest, discussing how to solve the elves' problem. That could be the scenario. So you have to have sort of a scenario, a setting. Where are you and why are you here and what are you supposed to do here? And then you have the characters. In the LARP, which is different to theater. You have characters, and everyone there plays a character in this game. No one is the audience watching what's happening, mostly in games, I would say, mostly in LARPs. No one's watching this, but we all play characters in the game who influence the game and the events of the game. And the characters do not have scripts on what to say. When you play, you improvise according to your character, the scenario, and the world. You don't have a set things that you're supposed to say during the time of the LARP. You just use this stuff and make up what to do and where to take this LARP. And then you have rules. The main rule for almost every game is when you play, when the game is running, you play your character and pretend that this is for real. This is like the most general rule that applies for most LARPs. But then you also have a lot of extra rules depending on what kind of LARP this is. Maybe if there's magic in this world, you need rules how to use magic, because we can't do magic for real. Or maybe you have weapons. You need to have rules how to use the weapon so it won't be a danger for real. Or maybe you have rules that could be sort of how to play this LARP. That could be like when we put on the red light, you're supposed to play more aggressive. Or when someone knocks, you're supposed to go further onto the conflict where you're sort of heading, but speed up the pace of it. So you could have those kind of rules. But that's the four basic things. Then, of course, there's going to be more, depending on what kind of LARP you're doing and other more specific LARPs. But this could probably describe most LARPs that is done in the world today. Do you have any add-ons there?
Oh, just a reflection. Some people, when you try to describe LARPing, you describe it as it's a lot like playing cowboys and Indians when you were children. But there's a big difference between playing a LARP and playing cowboys and Indians when you're children. It's the internal logic, like the agreement that we're all going to be playing in the same world and try to maintain a coherence in the world. Because when children play make-believe, suddenly someone could say, well, right now I'm an astronaut, or something like that. And that's the agreement in the LARP, that we stay in the same world scenario with our characters following these rules. So that's like, yeah, an interesting defining point of LARP, as opposed to playing make-believe.
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to come into the practical stuff. And I'm going to start out with asking you all to rise and stand up. And please stop. Now I'd like you all to sit in these 3 rows over here. So when you feel you've got a grasp of your character, just put it down and see if you remember the name. So what I want you to do now is that I want you to just say hi to the people sitting next to you. Don't start yet. Explain who you are playing, your character you're playing. And if you have some kind of relationship to that person, just tell them, my character feels this way about your character. And this is a very, very important distinction to make with students, young students, that there's a difference between player and character. Like, even if my character hates you and thinks you smells really badly, and if I play that, it's not me as a player that hates you as a real person. It's me as a character putting that on your character, different levels. Very important to make that sort of separation between those two. So, present yourself to the people sitting around you, what your character is.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Peter, hello.
How are you?
I'm Mohammed.
Are you interested in this?
So do we have anyone playing a character who are employed by the school, like a teacher or a principal or something like that? None of you guys? Okay. But you are playing, who are you playing?
I'm playing, oh, what his name? You said it, Eric.
Yeah.
who's a teacher who's just taken over the class from the previous teacher. A class which got the worst reputation in school.
He's Aaron.
Okay, so we have your new teacher over here, and I'm gonna play the lecturer. And you are at an international school in Sweden, so this person coming in lecturing you will be a Swedish person trying to make a lecture in English. Just so you know.
So you're like a guest lecturer,
I'm
and
a guest lecturer.
That's our ordinary teacher.
That's your ordinary teacher, yes. And I will play that lecture. And the game will start with this. I'm gonna stand by the door, and then I'm gonna ask you all to close your eyes, and I'm gonna count down from 10 to 0. During the time that you have your eyes closed and I'm counting down, I would like you to sort of get into the body of the character. Like, are you playing a really interested student? Maybe you are sitting like this. And if you don't care, maybe you are sitting like this. So get into the body of the character and remember your name. And when I come to 0, you open your eyes and the game has started. And then the game will run until I say, now the game is over, or something like that. So I'm very, very clear about the game starting. All right. Any questions before we start? No. Please close your eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Glad you waited. I hope you got the slide to show. Yeah, I don't have to introduce you. Come on. Hey, class, stop talk at the back. Right, we are pleased today to have Kaiser with us. I'm sure you'll all give her your attention. And she's here to talk to you about the problem of drug use.
What's doing that?
Yeah, I've got a phone, but why should I have it with?
She does something else.
Okay, please wait when you're ready.
Okay. I'm not.
Oi!
I'm not used to making this in English, but I do my best. So, my name is Kajsa, and I come from a drug rehabilitation center that is called Majblomman. And I'm gonna talk to you about this for a little bit. And,
Sorry, can you be a bit louder?
Yeah, we can't hear you over here.
On the weekend, I can't hear you.
okay. Yeah, I can try. My name is Kajsa, and I come. Yes.
Is this going to help us with our assignment?
It will help you not get detention.
Thank you.
Okay. So it is a very hard subject, and that's so. Since we're going to talk about that, I would like to get to know you a little bit better.
Perhaps she can't speak, she can't speak.
Let's speed. Plus långsamt. Slow.
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 Okay. I don't know French.
Your English is fine. Just carry on. I'm sure they'll do their best to listen.
Can we ask questions during the lecture, or do we wait to them
Yes.
until afterwards?
Yes.
On this rehabilitation center, what environmental responsibilities do you take? Like, do you recycle, compensate for any
Can we
pollution?
on-topic questions, please?
Yes, I can.
This isn't Facebook. You're not here to troll.
With Facebook would be better, sir.
We do recycle a little bit. Yes. But do you have a question? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. The question's about drugs, right?
Yeah.
Where would music be without drugs? Think of all
How
the
do
great
you
fans and the great musicians out there.
I bet
Right.
Beethoven didn't have drugs.
If Mozart would have
Beethoven
been
was-
available, though, wouldn't he?
Oh, joh, laat maar vallen. Dat telt het nou drugs, nou drugs, nou drugs, nou.
Yeah.
I know this.
Oi!
But that's a good point.
But, you know, it's-
Like,
So,
where would
Just
Jimi
look at
Hendrix be
Coca-Cola.
without LSD?
He
So-
probably would have lived longer. Now be quiet.
Live fast, die young.
Oh.
so
Leave
we,
a good looking corpse.
so
What's a cancer? Be funny,
didn't.
have some drugs. What's a cancer? You know, have some fun in life at least.
so
What's-
we're
yeah.
we're gonna start with presentations. So you say your name and something that you like.
Give
For
us some
example,
drugs. Oh, good. You give us some drugs. To try. Yeah,
so
that's
so
good.
I'm Kajsa.
Are
and,
you opposed to alcohol as well?
yes, that's the drug
And
too.
Coca-Cola?
Sounds very boring.
Yeah, what about caffeine?
Yeah, that's a drug too, like technically speaking.
And
It is.
aspirin?
It
And
is.
woman. Hey, dancing, that's addicting, isn't it?
There is some drug. There is some
So
drug.
do you usually have breaks at some point? Like
We often have breaks, they're really good.
I
We
think
get
that, I
drunk
think
in
they've had
the
enough breaks
Oh, we get
already.
to break.
but
Okay.
maybe we need some air.
Are you actually going to start talking about something with some substance or?
Which substances? So are we making drugs?
She talks about air we need all, she said. Air we need.
Okay, let's break the game there. Stop the game. Oh, stand up and just like try to just let go of the body of the character. Just get into yourself again.
Sorry. I'm going to go back to
Yes. And I would like to just hear some short thoughts and like for example now, when someone asks you have you LARPed before, every one of you can raise. That's a good development that we've done for just very short time. Do you have like any reflections? Was it hard? Was it easy? How was it to get this character? Do you feel comfortable with characters? We're not going to do like the whole round, but just some thoughts.
I find it easy getting into characters, yeah. So yeah, kind of nice feeling it, physicalising it, and even not taking, felt very participatory, even though not injecting kind of anything in the forefront, you know, like some of the loud folk. So it was nice being there, yeah, in character.
Well,
I know it's more stressful playing high status roles because you've got this constant concern that when you do something, what you're actually doing is blocking other people's play. If I say stop talking to the back, what I've actually done is break up your scene. Effectively.
Yeah, it's a,
Which
it's
is
a hard balance
Yes.
to stay in character but not stopping. Thing. Yeah. Did someone feel that they got a character? Could you just raise your hands? Like someone got a character that was quite close to what they like. This is quite close to myself. Yeah, yeah. And did some feel like this is a long way from myself? This is not as I am. Yeah?
Someone who used to be without the drug taking.
So how did it feel to play someone who was far from yourself? Was it harder?
It was not so hard to play because it was a shy girl who just wanted to be invisible. So it's just it's not my character. So it was not so hard to play, but it was not something I could add something to, except being very shy to this hardcore drummer. No, he wanted a drummer for his band, and he was pushing me, but you know, a shy drummer is a little bit hard to say yes to. Yeah, exactly.
This is interesting. When you play a shy character or a character that wants to do right, it's harder to get more play. Like if you play the sort of in this classroom example, it is very much the people getting the characters who are very like don't like the lecturer. It's very easy to sort of put a lot of stuff into play. But if you play really shy or like really interested in the lecture, it might be harder to come up with things to do in the game, because what you would do is do nothing. So that is a little bit interesting complication with this. But I think we won't discuss this so much further. Our own game that we're going to do, we're going to discuss much more. But this was just a practice game. And now we're going to talk about the game we're doing. And that's
Yes, now I'm taking over. So we're going to continue this maybe to a quarter past, and then we will have a 10-minute break. If we look at that game that you played right now, the classroom games, there are some pros and cons to it. And when we do this with classes, there's like a reason why we play. It might not be the most enjoyable game you ever played in your life, but one of the big pros with the game is that when we're spoken about the world scenario, the characters and the rules, and then you play a game like this, it's very easy to set up, it's playable in a classroom, and it takes like 15 minutes to play through it. Then everyone has a common shared experience, which we can relate to when we talk about the world scenario, the character and rules. Like you get easier get an understanding of what a LARP actually is when you have played it. So that's why we play this game. If we look at the downsides of the game, it's, as you said, it's a game where you can effectively break play for others by telling them to shut up. And it's also quite static in the room. There's not much moving about. But we find it to be quite a good example of quickly getting to know what a LARP is. So we're going to apply this model to the LARP that you're going to play, and we will be working a lot more with the characters and the preparations for the LARP tonight than we did with this LARP. The LARP is called Long Live the Revolution. The world, France, in 1793. So now I'm going to test you on your historical knowledge. Where does that put us, like in comparison to the French Revolution?
Shortly after Louis has been executed.
Yes, exactly. Shortly after the king has been executed, about 4 years after what we talk about as being the starting point of the French Revolution. So it's been some years with, like we're a couple of years or 4 years into the French Revolution. The scenario here is an inn on the way to Calais. So we're quite close to the English Channel, and the weather has gone. It's terribly bad weather today. So everyone traveling on the roads has to find some shelter. So a lot of different groups have decided to get some accommodation at this inn. And the characters, I won't go in very much into depth about the characters, because we'll do that in the character creation workshop. But to give you an example, we have the revolutionary soldiers. We have the noblemen and noblewomen who are disguising as common people because they don't want to get their heads chopped off. We have, of course, the staff at the inn. And we also have some fishermen. And I just write other people. It will become clearer when we go through all the characters that we have. But for instance, there is a range between people who are not very fond of the revolution and people who are very into the revolution, but they might disagree on how to actually go about with this revolution. And all of these people is at the same inn, and of course this is foundation for conflicts. And the rules of the game, I think we'll go through them during the day more and more, but they will be quite similar to the rules of this LARP, like we play our character from start to finish. But one big difference from the game that you played right now is that this game will not be a what you see is what you get game. So some LARPs, you try to represent the fiction that you're playing in as correct as possible. So if we're playing in a fantasy setting, we go out into the forest, all the clothes that we have will look as, for instance, a Tolkien LARP will look as though it was Tolkien's Middle-earth, things like that. Other games are played without any kind of clothes. No, not without any kind of clothes. We'll play without any kind of costumes. So you just play them like in your ordinary clothes, even though we might play like the same scenario, for instance, a Tolkien fantasy scenario, but we will play it in a room just like this with no costumes at all, just imagining things. So we more or less have a scale from like being 100% representative the world that we actually see and acting to almost 0%. And the game that we're going to play today, I would say is like somewhere in between on that scale. We will have costumes, but they will be of a more symbolic nature, so that you easily can spot like who's a soldier and who is not a soldier. But we won't have like 100% perfect costumes as if we were in 1793. And we will be playing in this room, so it won't be an actual inn. But that doesn't make it any less of a LARP. It's just different LARPing traditions. So that's like one of the main points. There are like different LARPing traditions, and this is one of them. When it comes to historical accuracy, this LARP won't be very historically accurate. Because some LARPs you really want to make as almost as a simulation. Like we want it to be perfectly historically accurate. One LARP that they made in Norway was a LARP about the occupation of Norway during the Second World War, and everything down to the cutlery they used was like historically accurate. Other LARPs, you're more interested in the drama or the being an exciting LARP or an exciting game, and then you won't be as historically accurate, and that's where we are right now. So think of it more as like an historical adventure movie where everything isn't 100% correct. So anything that makes the story and the drama more interesting will play on that. If we don't know the historical, what actually happened in history, we just make it up, and then that's the thing that actually happened in history, so that we won't feel inhibited by if we actually know the French Revolution, the history of the French Revolution. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's connected to what you're saying, but one of the parts we sort of cut out in the history part is the gender part.
Yeah.
We will not be gender accurate at all. Anyone can play any character in any kind of way. So it won't be like female can only play female characters in a female historical accurate way. We'll just skip that part totally.
Yeah, so you can be a female revolutionary soldier, and like anyone can play anything. Yeah, that's a little bit about the LARP, but we're going to have like a quick historical briefing, so that we all have like some kind of historical common ground for France 1793. And when we do this with classes, we go through like what are the reasons that the revolution in France actually took place. And yes, since we're running a bit late, usually I would have asked you and we would have a great discussion about history. But since we're running a little late, I think I'll just list some of the reasons. One of the reasons being absolute monarchy. Would someone care to describe shortly, briefly, what I mean by that, or guess what I mean by that? Yes, the king is in charge, and more importantly, the king can actually make decisions, has like the power and authority to make decisions for anyone else in the country, more or less. I'm also going to take a look at this. And for the people of France, that's not very funny. Then we have the feudalism. Is it pronounced that way?
Yeah.
Feudalism. This pyramid system, which, of course, for the people of France, that's not very funny either. Like if you're a farmer, then you will have to give away parts of your crops and things like that. But one big part of the feudalism is that some of the positions in society can only be inherited by people who are nobility. And that's important because this is a tricky word in English. Where did we have it? Here.
Bourgeoisie.
Yeah, the bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie. Is a group that is actually growing, and they get wealthier. And even though you are quite wealthy and you have a quite respectable job and quite respectable position in society, there's like a ceiling where you can't advance any further, because some of the most important positions in society are only inherited. And that also makes the bourgeoisie sad. Because if it was only like the working class and the farmers and things like that, then that might not have been enough to start off the revolution. But then you actually get more of a critical mass. And then we also have the Estates General of France. Estates General. And the three estates, the clergy, the nobility, and others. And they had like one vote per estate, even though 97% of the French people would belong to the others group. So in the Estates General, it's not very well. It's not very well representative for the people of French, which of course led to sad people as well. Also, during the years leading to the French Revolution, crop failure, sad people. Economic crisis, sad people. And the last thing is the enlightenment, the philosophy of enlightenment. Is it called that?
Yeah.
Yes.
This lecture is much harder in English, since English is my first language. I just write something. Which actually didn't lead to sad people, but so this is the only arrow directed in some other direction, where we have the idea that the way society is structured, we get new ideas that we could actually restructure society in a rational way. So it's not by God given that the society has to look this way. There are new ideas, alternatives to how we structure society. And this is just to show that it isn't like just one major cause to the revolution, but there are multiple causes. When you add them up, you get to the point where you actually have a French Revolution. So does someone have anything to add to my extremely short and somewhat confusing history lesson of the French Revolution?
Are we already in the period of the terror where people are getting their head shot?
Yes.
Like by vengeance almost in some cases.
By?
Like some people, for instance, someone will have cheated on your wife or something, you just tells them off and they'll get their head chopped off for being.
That's a really good question. As I said, we're in 1793, and we're in our like fictional history world where this takes place. The Revolutionary Army has a lot of power and a lot of authority, and can actually like decide on the spot to just chop someone's head off because they suspect them of being noblemen or noblewomen. And the king has been executed, and like there is no democracy, there is no freedom of speech, so it is more or less in this chaotic terror reign.
Have they introduced conscription yet? Are they soldiers? Are they conscripts? Are they volunteers?
I think the way we play the Larp, the soldiers are volunteers. So I don't know in history if they are conscripts or not, but the way we play the Larp, the soldiers are volunteers. And we've ended up like somewhere in history where the revolution is quite extreme because we want to like rise the tension in the Larp that like if you're playing nobility, any mistake could actually get you killed on the spot at the inn. Other questions?
And where are you with sort of external threats? So, is the Revolutionary Army started fighting people outside France, or people attacking France? Or is this entirely within France? French tensions rather than countries around them?
Yeah, it's the way the Larp is written, mainly the tension is within France. We talk a little bit about the countries around, but the main focus of the story is within France and within this inn even more. So it's if this would be a theatre play, it would be almost like a closed room play.
So the fact that it's quite near England on one side and Belgium or somewhere on the other, it's not particularly important?
No, that's not particularly important to the Larp. And the important thing being so near the English Channel is that, of course, the nobility is trying to escape out of France. And that's like one of the main things in the Larp. Other questions? Let's go on to see if
what's the position of the church at this point in relation to the revolution?
I think, or at least like the way we've written the Larp, and even if it's not historically correct, the church is not very much present in the Larp, but I think that they are somewhat viewed upon as not as bad as the nobility, but almost as bad, at least the very wealthy, very powerful people of the church. But the not maybe a common priest in a small church on the countryside. So that's a bit about the background of the Larp that we're going to play. The way we're going to do this is that we will have a character workshop. That's like the next thing after the break that's going to happen, where you will get like partly written characters, but you will partly workshop your characters to try to find the characters that you're going to play. And we're going to work with that much longer than the characters you got right now. We're back on time.
Hey.
So that's a good thing.